So, you crossed the 45-year mark and your body essentially handed you a resignation letter. You go to your doctor complaining that a peaceful, uninterrupted night of sleep is now a luxury you simply cannot afford, and their incredibly helpful medical advice is to drink some chamomile tea and try doing some light yoga. Meanwhile, you're going to bed completely exhausted, practically dragging your physical body to the mattress, but by 3 a.m. your eyes violently snap open. You're drenched in a random hot flash. Your mind is furiously trapped in a doom loop calculating a random grocery bill from 2018, and your legs are aggressively twitching like you're trying to win a marathon inside your own sheets. You desperately start chewing on over-the-counter melatonin gummies like they're candy, praying for an ounce of relief, but you still wake up at 7 a.m. feeling like you got run over by a commercial freight train. Spoiler alert, melatonin is not your biological savior. Melatonin is simply a darkness hormone. It tells your brain it happens to be nighttime. It does absolutely nothing to extinguish the raging biochemical fire currently happening inside your nervous system. If you are a woman navigating the chaotic, unpredictable hormonal rollercoaster of perimenopause or full-blown menopause, your body is profoundly, dangerously deficient in the actual master mineral of human relaxation. Here is the deep dive cellular biology of exactly what happens to your body when you start taking high-quality magnesium every single night, and why it is the ultimate non-negotiable cheat code to actually survive the aging process. The very first thing that happens within 30 minutes of taking magnesium is a massive structural shift in your central nervous system. Right now, because your protective hormones like estrogen and progesterone are violently fluctuating, your nervous system is trapped in a baseline state of sympathetic overdrive. This is your biological fight or flight mode. You're basically walking around with your foot slammed permanently on the gas pedal, and your brain is constantly being flooded with an excitatory neurotransmitter called glutamate. Glutamate is the chemical that makes you feel wired, panicked, and incapable of shutting down. A spinning hamster wheel completely engulfed in flames. Magnesium acts as the heavy, undeniable emergency brake pad. When it crosses the blood-brain barrier, it immediately blocks those glutamate receptors and simultaneously binds to your GABA receptors. GABA is your brain's primary inhibitory chemical. It is the biological gag order that tells your racing, anxious thoughts to absolutely shut up and go to sleep. Without enough magnesium, your GABA receptors are essentially locked. But when you flood your system with magnesium, it physically unlocks those receptors, forcefully slowing down your brainwaves and plunging you into deep restorative REM sleep. A massive heavy steel vault door slamming shut. You actually stay asleep, instead of waking up every 2 hours to aggressively stare at the ceiling fan. The second physiological miracle happens directly in your muscular system, specifically addressing that agonizing restless leg syndrome and the random paralyzing Charlie horses that wake you up in sheer agony. To understand this, you have to understand how your muscles physically contract on a microscopic level. Calcium is the positively charged mineral that enters your muscle fibers and causes them to aggressively tighten, flex, and shorten. Magnesium is the exact opposing mineral that swoops in, physically pushes the calcium out of the way, and forces the muscle fiber to relax and let go. Because our modern agricultural soil is completely stripped of minerals, and because daily mental stress causes your kidneys to rapidly urinate out whatever tiny amount of magnesium you do manage to eat, you are running on empty. When you are deficient, calcium just floods your muscle tissue completely unchecked, causing them to endlessly misfire, twitch, and cramp all night long. Taking magnesium before bed chemically evicts that calcium from the muscle fibers. A tightly coiled, rusty metal spring suddenly releasing, your legs finally stop acting like they are trying to pedal an invisible bicycle, and your physical body actually sinks into the mattress. The third profound change completely regulates your erratic morning blood sugar, and it comes down to a cellular mechanism you've probably never heard of. You probably know that dropping estrogen causes insulin resistance. But what nobody tells you is that your insulin receptors literally require magnesium to function. Magnesium is the physical key that allows the insulin hormone to open the cellular door and push glucose out of your blood and into your muscles. If you are deficient in magnesium, your cellular doors are locked. The glucose just gets stuck in your bloodstream, forcing your pancreas to pump out massive amounts of insulin. This aggressive insulin spike packs highly inflammatory visceral fat directly onto your lower belly while you sleep. By restoring your magnesium levels at night, you physically repair those insulin receptors, allowing your body to smoothly process carbohydrates and massively reducing that stubborn menopausal belly fat. The fourth biological breakthrough controls something terrifying that peaks during menopause: heart palpitations and blood pressure spikes. If you're lying in bed at night and suddenly feel your heart skipping a beat, fluttering or racing for absolutely no reason, it is terrifying. Your heart is a muscle, but it runs on an incredibly precise electrical grid called the sodium-potassium pump. This microscopic pump controls the exact electrical rhythm of your heartbeat. Magnesium is the master conductor of that pump. If you are deficient, the electrical signals in your heart tissue start to misfire, leading to those terrifying ectopic beats. Furthermore, magnesium is a natural vasodilator. It physically relaxes the smooth muscle inside your blood vessels, widening them and allowing your blood pressure to drop naturally. Flooding your system with magnesium at night stabilizes those electrical pathways and opens your vessels, calming the cardiac muscle and bringing your heart rate back into a smooth, predictable, resting rhythm. A perfectly synchronized mechanical metronome ticking. The fifth massive benefit dictates the production of your actual happiness hormones. You cannot make melatonin without first making serotonin. 90% of your serotonin is manufactured in your gut, but the enzymatic conversion process completely relies on magnesium as a cofactor. If your magnesium is depleted, your serotonin production flatlines. This is why menopause is so heavily linked with deep depressive moods and heavy brain fog. You literally do not have the raw elemental materials to synthesize joy or sleep. Taking magnesium manually restarts that serotonin assembly line. The sixth physiological phenomenon completely revolutionizes your bone health, which is critical because plunging estrogen actively dissolves your skeleton. You're probably swallowing massive handfuls of vitamin D3 every morning. But here is the biological catch that the supplement companies hide from you. Vitamin D is completely inactive when you swallow it. It requires massive amounts of magnesium to power the specific hydroxylase enzymes in your liver and kidneys to physically convert that vitamin D into its active, usable form. You're essentially pouring premium gasoline into a car with a completely missing engine block. Taking magnesium at night turns the metabolic key, allowing your body to actually utilize that vitamin D to fortify your bones while you sleep. But here is the massive, critical warning that most people completely ignore, which completely ruins the entire protocol. You cannot just walk into the local pharmacy, buy the cheapest, most heavily discounted bottle of magnesium on the bottom shelf, and expect a biological miracle. 90% of the supplements sitting on the grocery store shelf are magnesium oxide or magnesium citrate. Magnesium oxide has an abysmal absorption rate of about 4%. The other 96% stays trapped in your intestines, aggressively pulls in massive amounts of water, and turns your morning commute into a terrifying high-speed race to the nearest bathroom. You're not relaxing your nervous system, you're just casually swallowing a cheap industrial laxative. If you want the deep sleep, the muscle relaxation, the insulin control, and the nervous system repair, you absolutely must take magnesium glycinate or magnesium threonate. These specific forms are molecularly bound to amino acids that easily cross the intestinal wall, completely bypass your bowels, and enter directly into your brain and muscle tissue. Stop suffering through the 3 a.m. anxiety spirals, stop ignoring the leg cramps, and stop treating your sleep like a chaotic gamble. If you want to know the exact specific supplement brands that actually use highly bioavailable magnesium instead of cheap laxatives, click the video on screen right now. I break down the exact science-backed sleep stack you need to survive menopause and reclaim your sanity. Subscribe so you stop accidentally torturing your own nervous system, and I'll see you in the next one.